Engineer.
What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Inception of IP infringement's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at ToyWorld's Leia. The reason why I say that is that Arcee is basically a rip-off of Leia from Star Wars, both in design and kind of in style. This is obviously a representation of Arcee, and then they had the nerve to go ahead and name it Leia. So they really checked all the boxes all the way down there, which I can respect. Anyway, this is on loan to me from Titan One Toys. I'm gonna try to start sharing their logo from these people that let me look at this stuff. I'm gonna try to start giving them some more love because I'm reminded a little bit more each day of the fact that there's not many that do in terms of in the business. I say that to say this is an MP scaled representation and it's a mixed bag, I think, as most people kind of predicted, but she has a ton of accessories and we're gonna talk about those first. So she comes with a ton of little hands and they all come in little baggies, and I know I live close to Baltimore and I know Baltimore is the home of the wire, but that doesn't mean they had to put them all in little baggies for me. But there are plenty of them. She comes with 2 jazz hands. She comes with 2 support hands. She comes with 2 A-OK hands. She comes with 2 gripping hands. And she comes with 2 pointing hands, both left and right. And as you saw in the opening footage, and I'm sure you were being observant, she comes with 2 peace or victory hands. She comes with 2 swords with sheaths or scabbards or whatever you want to call them. I don't care. They are nice. They are painted pink. They are, it looks like even painted white, but this is probably just a white glossy plastic. I think it is. And then the silver is painted on the blades, which are, you know, detractable? Is that the right word for that? I'm not sure. The tension is held with just the white piece, and it does kind of suck that this is open here at all times. But they do a number of different things. And what could those things be? I'm glad you asked. They could plug into her hips, so you can have the swords on her hips. She can hold them. They also tab into the side here on the vehicle, right where the rear view mirror should be, or the side view mirror rather, and can sit like that. She comes with 2 guns. She can hold them as well. They are nice. They are kind of stylized in her signature style, and they have this nice silver finish on the entire gun in a decent sculpt. And the guns can tab into these side tabs here at the handle, but it's not that having the swords on obviously makes it more difficult, but having the gun in makes putting the swords in more difficult, so it doesn't really matter. She comes with a number of screw hole covers. They're nice enough. They go in a number of different places. They all come in little baggies like the rest of this stuff, but I'm not going to be installing them because it's just, you know, it's just not worth it, and I think you get the idea. She also comes with a replacement of Sea Spray's head, which is nice enough. You know, you just swap out and then it gives you the eye cuts that you might want. So that was kind of them, I guess. And she also comes with these candies. That is if you bought it from Titan One. I don't know if I've told this story before or not, but the dude that runs it, I asked him, I was like, what's up with the candies, man? And he was like, you know, his father had a business, and it's something his father used to do, was have like candies to hand out for purchases and stuff, and he carries on that tradition. That kind of stuff pulls on my heartstrings. So let's talk about the figure. Now, the head sculpt is a little weak. It's crazy. It's a little crazy looking. It's just not the best. It's on a ball peg. You get up to there, you get down to there. This neck flap actually rotates forward so you can cheat it for maybe a picture or something. I don't know. But not the best. Articulation-wise, it works okay. Sculpt-wise for the face, not the best. I feel like the buns are a little squishy on her face. The buns themselves, I believe, are die-cast. I can't really tell, but I think they are. She has light piping, which you know I think has no place on a modern Masterpiece figure, and the input is very small, so she always looks like somebody came and switched her off. That being said, she has a fair amount of paint. The die-cast is painted, and I think the face is painted, but I'm not sure. We have the chest here. The pink is painted. I think the pink is pretty much painted throughout. There is one thing I want you to be mindful of, and that's these pegs here. The ports are straight in, but the pegs need to kind of sit at an angle, so it's definitely putting pressure there. Just be mindful of it. It hasn't been an issue for me, but it's something that I want you to take note of, because I think it could cause a potential issue at some point down the line. All right, we have silver here on the belly. Silver paint, looks good. We have ball joints here. They're on swivels, so you actually can get a bit of a butterfly joint out of them, which is nice. And the pink, once again, is painted. You get up to 90 degrees and swivel until you hit the backpack. You have a bicep right at the cut below the shoulder. That's perfect. You have a double jointed elbow, getting you pretty much the full range. The hands don't fit in perfectly. It's just such a poor mistake, in my opinion. Like, the peg should have came out of the forearms and the hand plugged into it. The problem with the hands is that they're a softer plastic, which is nice in order to hold the weapons and such, but it stinks in terms of trying to get it into that little port. So that's not the best. I'm taking the hands off because I'm going to have the hands off on a Transformer, just because I don't know if there's certain hands you got to have on. I'm just not sure. Moving on. We have, that hands obviously swivel in the port. If you unpeg this stuff here from the back, mainly the butt, I think, you can get a swivel at the waist. It's not great, but it's there. And I think it should be enough for whatever you want. Unfortunately, it just takes away from the solidity of the figure, which is, I must say, fairly solid. Moving on, we basically have universals for hips, but they come down to a separate hinge down here for transformation. However, you could probably cheat and get something out of that as well. The pink is painted on the pelvis. You get the full Van Damme. Little squeaky squeak. And you don't get the full Monty here. However, if you use the separate hinge, you can fake it and get what you want. I got a phone call coming in, but I am going to call him back. Custom. Call you right back. All right. So, sorry about that. Lots of sculpted detail on the legs. That looks good. The thigh swivel is actually at the above the knee here, but it's so tight. You hear it? It's there, but it's so tight. So you probably have to loosen up one of these screws in order to really get it. Like I said, it's not mine, so I'm not comfortable doing a whole lot of experimenting with it. Double jointed knee that works perfectly. The pink is painted. This is painted because this is, I think this, I don't know, that feels like plastic. Maybe this part on the back here, it feels like there's some weight down here. I think that's die cast there on the back. The ankles are actually pretty interesting. One portion cylindrically is connected to another portion that does rotate. The part that rotates is connected to the ball peg, so that gives you your ankle tilt. A good bit down, a little bit up. And then you have a toe hinge as well, but mostly down. You have a classic ankle rocker, which works perfectly, and then you can rotate the toe at the ball peg to get you even more of an ankle rocker, so you shouldn't have any problem with the feet. Back of the figure cleans up really well, I think. This looks a little unsightly, but that's kind of the nature of the beast, wouldn't you say? This looks a little unsightly to me as well. Other than that, it looks pretty good. It's okay. There's tons of die cast. It's perfectly solid, has good weight to it, and so forth. I'm going to start unpegging a couple things, including flipping this piece out of the chest when we look at size comparisons, just because it's a pain. But we'll get started. There she is next to some other relatively relevant bots from the movie, and I think she's scaled okay. Hot Rod is the one I feel like that looks the weakest out of this batch, but that's their Springer, Unique Toys, Blur, and the Takara Hot Rod. All right, let's just go through it. I put it back together. I felt guilty. I was trying to take an easy way out. Here you go. Open this up here. Move that piece to the top. You got to move this chest piece out. And then this piece up inside here you have to get out, which is even more challenging. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it on camera, but there it is. Dude, this spudger is coming in handy. Shout out to the room. And then we have this whole backpack assembly. If you can see, it's connected down in here to a hinge that connects over this shoulder plate. And you need to get this all the way up to get these shoulders around and the head pushed through, which isn't that big of a deal after you've done it a couple times, but it can be challenging at first. Tuck the head into that little cavity there. That should be relatively self-evident. And then bring the shoulders around, elbows out, and this can be a bit challenging as well, but you want these pegs on the elbow to intersect with this peg on the side of the car, and it just takes having it lined up right. There's one. Come on, you. There's one. There's the other. Now, I looked at the, so I just looked at the instructions, and I know we already went through articulation, and I talked about this swivel here, but so this piece actually is supposed to slide up, but good night, I can't get mine to slide up. So I thought it didn't slide up, and it looks like because it has to clear the seat on this chair right in there, like in order to get this double hinge up and over, that'll help clean up the bot in bot mode, and you'll get the swivel without having to unpeg stuff. But for car mode, you actually do need it pegged in, and since it's a pain in the rear, so to speak, anyway, we're just gonna leave it there for now. You're gonna collapse the peg here with the ball joint all the way down, and then flip the toe all the way around. Take the ankle guard, which you can use to cover down on the joint, by the way, because it hinges independently, and bring that all the way down. So we're gonna do the same for the other side. And now, unfortunately, I forgot that we have to open this up, and I went and pegged it all in. I'm just using this spudger, left and right. Good night. There. And then same for here. Goodness gracious. All that work for nothing. Okie dokie. And then we want to take these hips out. We're going to use that extra hinge that we already talked about. We're going to rotate them around, and we're going to slide them into this space. Once that is set, we can bring this back down and tab it in. And once again, this is just a situation where you're trying to have it lined up properly. And my knee is probably the one I used to show you that the knee swiveled. There. And then we'll close down. We're going to plug this stuff back into the elbows, and that'll be the car. So I'll get, and it's kind of trash. I'll get it cleaned up. We'll take a look at it. And here it is all cleaned up. One thing I forgot to mention is these wheels do come down on a double hinge. At least yeah, because it's one in the thigh and then one at the wheel. It seems like it might just be a single. Another tight tolerance, but make sure you do that as well. So how do you like that apple? It kind of rolls wacky whip. What is it? Bike that's hard to ride. That's what it reminds me of from South Park. And it's because these hinges are a little tight, and I probably don't have the wheels all the way down. So yeah, it's just not the best. Like, that looks good. What is that? It's like an M. Like, it's just not great. Underneath, it's kind of fine. You see this elbow is already coming tabbed again. It has a tendency to do so. You know, it's just like all the thought is there, and it's like they ran out of money. And they're like, blah, 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 just put it out. It's fine. Jim says it's fine. So it's just not the best. Size comparison wise, man, Tiger Tracks is having a rough go at it, boy. I think it was that hammer. There it is next to Tiger Tracks. So size comparison wise, it's in line. And before we go back to robot mode, there's a look at it all armed up. I put this one in upside down, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't make it look a whole lot better the other way. There. You know, I mean, it's cool that it can do it, but that's about the extent of that, right? Also, for what it's worth, it fits in Prime's trailer, but you kind of got to tilt it at an angle to clear the wheels. First of all, did she get you? Secondly, there's a lot of issues with this thing. So one of which is it comes with a ton of paint, and as a result, it comes with a ton of paint rub. If you look at where the weapon's plugged in, it chips paint off of them. If you look at the back of her thighs, it rubs against her buttocks. Speaking of which, you can't get the leg back very far. That's not really an issue for most people, but for Transformers, people are used to them going to the back, so you may be a little underwhelmed that you can't get much rotation because it does hit the butt cheek. Most action figures, they don't have a whole lot of backward leg movement. Anyway, the other issue with the paint is like where they plug in here. No, not there. This pink here, where the sword's plugged in. It's just there's a lot of paint chipping. But to be fair, there's a lot of paint. So for me, I'm one of those types of guys that kind of sees that as being worth it. I'm worth having some paint rub if the thing comes fully painted. And this isn't fully painted, but it's really, really, really liberal with the amount of paint that it has on it. The other issue mainly is, as we kind of have already joked about, haven't we, is the alt mode looks ridiculous. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. There's no really hiding it. It just isn't efficient and it isn't effective. Lastly, there's some tolerance issues. There's tolerance issues in the legs, like where the knee swivel is. There's tolerance issues where the elbows plug into the side caps there. There's tolerance issues in the waist articulation, even with the back piece unplugged. There's tolerance issues. There's tolerance issues where the hands plug in. It's hard to get them to go all the way in. You know, you really got to work at it. There's just a lot of tolerance issues throughout. Subjectively, I think the face looks bad, and I don't like that these two grays don't match. I'm not sure that they should or are supposed to, but they're different. Like, this matches the joint color, and this matches the stomach and kind of other white color, so that's a little off-putting as well. There are some positives, though. Like I said, tons of paint. Articulation works fairly well across the board. The feet, especially, butterfly joint. The elbows and knees are arguably perfect. It's solid, and it's also heavy because of all the die cast, so it feels good in your hand, so to speak. So there is a lot going for this thing. Unfortunately, it's just not enough for me to give it a recommend. It just has too many weaknesses. Like I said, you'll be able to get in some poses and stuff, but it's just not strong. It's just not a strong release. Like, between the paint chipping, how terrible the alt mode looks, and the tolerance issues, there's just enough there for me to say, wait and see what comes down the pike. Hope that helps. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.